Hello and welcome back to Crown Realty Utah, your go to spot for regular real estate market updates in the beautiful state of Utah. Now, this is my first video. We are going to just kind of do a breakdown of what's really happening in the market in Utah. And then I do want to do more daily updates on a regular basis so you can kind of be able to track it along with me, stuff that I do on a regular basis that you can kind of follow along with. So let's dive into currently how many homes we have on the market. It is 10 a.m. on the 25th of September. So we're at 13,632. Now, what does that really mean? Well, let's dive into a little bit more so you can be able to see. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to hit that. There we go. Just meant to bring my mouse up so you can be able to see my mouse. So this is some stats here that we had during the years. This is number of residential listings that have been entered into the market. So 2021, 2020, 2021, we had a huge influx and a lot of sales were happening. Things were moving on a regular basis. In 2022, the red line here, this is when we saw interest rates increase. And so a lot of people started putting their homes on the market. They're like, oh, the bubble's happening, which it kind of was a little bit. And so they had a huge influx. You can see that big spike going on as far as how many residential listings were entered and put into the market. We almost hit like 7,000 that month. 2023, we saw a huge drop because, interest rates came up and people were scared to be able to try to sell their home. A lot of you can see that big drop during that year in 2023. 2024, we did see an increase in, kind of more middle range. There's still some more market and it kind of seemed like things were leveling out just a little bit here but interest rates, those are kind of changing things as well. So these are just what we're looking at as far as how many homes are being put on the market. But we did see an increase as well, though, and I'll show you a little bit later. 2025, we had an increase as well. Not the huge spike that we had, but we have had more homes on the market this year than we have had, in some previous years for sure. So let's look into that a little bit more. Here's just some numbers, just to kind of give you guys a little sense. We really in January we never really had 4,000 homes be put on the market, and so anyway, little stats. Let's dive into this. This is a little different here. So compared from last year when we hit 7,000 homes on the market, it's like, oh man, that's quite a lot. And these were homes that were like active residential listings that were actually active on the market. So during the like to that 2020, 2021, we only had about 3,000 because homes were just going quickly as well. So they weren't staying on the market. Where these ones are more, they're staying on a little bit longer. With also the increase of homes being put on the market, but then also homes staying on the market a little bit longer, we've had a little bit more of an increase. And so when we hit 7,000 last year, I was like, that was a lot. And then we started getting up to last year during the summer, we started getting up to, so you see the orange, 9,000, 8,000. We started getting up to 10,000. I thought, I was like, oh man, we've hit 10,000 homes. I haven't seen that in a long time, actual available homes on the market. And then when we started hitting almost to 11,000, or no, we did hit 11,000 last September. So I was like, man, that is a lot of homes. We had some listings that were having to stay on a little bit longer. But then this year, it was kind of more around that 9,000. I saw that you can see in February, the blue, the 9,000 range got up into 10,000 again. But then all of a sudden, April and May, we hit 11,000. I kept seeing an increase, 12,000. All of a sudden, we're now in the 13,000, 13,600-ish right now. And so to be able to see that huge influx, even though interest rates have come down just a little bit, they've kind of played, but we've had a big influx in how many homes are on the market. And so that's kind of changed things as what we're doing here in the state of Utah. Anyway, these are by county. I'm not going to dive into too much of that, but this is just, I wanted to kind of show you this as well over year by year, the average number of active homes. So you can see in 2021, we had, less than 1,000 homes on average on the market, especially during the more months where there's more homes or so, like 3,000, okay, we hit 4,000 in 2020, that was 2021. But yeah, 4,000 that were homes on the market, but they were still selling pretty quick. And then all of a sudden you see the red numbers with the 9,000, 2023, very kind of similar. And then 2024 last year, we did see that increase where more homes were staying on the market. And then currently now we've had another increase of that, 2,000, 400 or so that's increased from last year this time. So that's just a little update as far as what the market is really kind of doing. Another little update that I like to look at is how many homes have sold during the month. And so these are the about how many homes have sold, your price or your price average price of the homes. And that's the weird thing is that you've seen some homes have to decrease their value and these other ones, but the average market value is actually increased. The average sold price has actually gone up a little bit. But the price per square foot right here is kind of staying the same. We've had it around the 230s, since last year, been around the 230s for a while. And so the price per square foot is kind of staying similar, maybe increasing a little bit here, but then coming back down to the low 230s. So what I'm really seeing, and as far as the market itself, is some people that are listing their homes, they're still having to, this is 97%. So if they were to list their home at a certain price, they're coming down by, 3% of the home value. And so it's really selling at that 97% of what the actual home was listed for originally. So it's still a little drop, but not huge. We used to get down into the 93s, 94s, 92s, and that was November 2022. So right now, I mean, that's kind of a typical in the crazy market that we had, 2020, 2021, everything was increasing. You're getting a 103%, you're getting 105% on some of those homes, some of those averages. Let's actually scroll up and you guys see that. So yeah, 104, 103, you're kind of getting 100%, 102, 106, 105. So right now, things are coming in just a little bit less of what the actual listing price is, but not like terribly low. So we're still kind of within that. But why I'm seeing this increase here is what I really see is new builds. New builds are coming up in Utah on a regular basis, and they are, instead of dropping their price, they're offering bigger incentives. So some builders are offering a 9% incentive on the home that they can be able to apply a seller credit that the buyers can apply to their lowering the purchase price, or they can to helping to helping to be able to drop their interest rate so that buy down that interest rate. But 9%, that's huge on a lot of homes. You know, in the original, when the interest rates really started creeping up, maybe they were offering 3%. Maybe they recently in the last year, they kind of offered up to maybe 5%, maybe 6%, but now we're kind of getting that 9%. And so that's increasing home purchase prices. But those new builds are kind of still, it would be dropping at 40K or so, on the actual overall price if they weren't offering those incentives. And so that's why I'm seeing a little bit of the actual home value is increasing on average, but in essence, in reality, it's not really happening. We're kind of seeing a little bit of decrease going on with the interest rates still being high. They've dropped a little bit right now. Let's actually see that. Okay, so let's actually dive into the current mortgage rates. So you've got, this is just a daily um, average, what the average is doing for the interest rates. Now these interest rates are different than the actual Fed rate. If you see that, if you were watching the Fed rate, it dropped around this time, but the mortgage rates actually dropped in anticipation for that. The mortgage rates are a little different than the Fed rate. So don't necessarily, oh, the mortgage, they're going to announce something in the Fed rate. Well, really, honestly, you should be able to lock something in before they kind of announce something, because it usually drops before then. It kind of came back up, but we're on average, 6.39. I see most people, because they can be able to buy down their interest rate from the seller's credits, usually getting around that lower 6%, maybe even getting into the fives. One other thing that I want to show you is just our daily, how many homes came on the market as of yesterday and up to until this point today. So we have 250. We're at 10 o'clock this morning here on the 25th. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful for you. I will do these videos a little bit more succinctly, a little bit shorter. That way we can just kind of get through some basic data of what's happening on a daily basis. I probably won't do it every day, but I'll try to do it on a regular basis. So feel free to be able to reach out to me at any time. Comment down below, and we'll be able to connect with each other, be able to help you guys out. If you want to know further about what's going on in Utah, let me know. I'll be able to dive into a little further for you. Or if you are looking at buying, selling, feel free to reach out and let's make something happen for you. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.